Well, the chief executive of Virtu Motors, that's Robert Forrester. Now, he's also chief executive of Bristol Street Motors. So these are the biggest car dealerships, probably among the whole of the country. And he's made this point, as I say, in an interview. He joins me now. Presumably, I mean, I'm guessing here, Mr. Forrester, but the game used to be to bring cars down to London and the South East where you'd probably make a better dollar for them. Is that true? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. That's exactly true. Because of, obviously, general economics, cars tended over time to sell for more in the South East than in, say, Scotland or the North East. So there was a natural tendency to ship cars south.
What's happening now?
Well, with the ULEZ expansion, and I think it's as much psychological as real, actually, for customers in the South East, because you tend to find this outside the ULEZ zone as well as in it. People obviously trying to get out of the car that they're in, if it is subject to the charges, and we take them in part exchange, or they go through auctions. And there is very, very good demand, because if you positioned it as highly toxic, polluting vehicles, well, let's be honest, a lot of the cars that are subject to the charge actually have very good engines. Engines have improved massively over the last 15 years and are perfectly good cars that can go long distances and aren't heavily toxic and polluting.
So what do you, when you see what's happened here, the idea of rolling out these schemes in other cities, and this, of course, would include the North and in Scotland, what might the impact of that be?
Well, I mean, clearly, if a majority of the country went this way, then these cars are going to have significant valuation issues because the remaining market for them to go to would be reduced. The further north you get, the less impetus there actually is on this. I mean, I'm speaking from Newcastle upon Tyne, and we have effectively a clean air zone, but it only affects buses, taxis and lorries, so it doesn't even affect cars. And I think it's the way they're all different, and it depends how it's positioned. You know, if you go back to, 10, 15-year-old diesels, I think there's quite a good case for tackling NOx pollution because the engines weren't as good as they are today, but the modern engines are very, very strong on emissions. So
what I'm hearing is there's some bargains to be had at the moment in certain parts of the country, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, the north of England will benefit from the problems that the South East is England having with its anti-motorist policies or pro-green policies. That is the fact.
Lastly, when I have this conversation, Robert, a lot of people ring up and say, it wasn't that long ago that the government told us we should all be in diesel cars and now I'm having to sell my car or my van or whatever. How much sympathy do you have for people caught in this?
Well, we could have a long debate about the vacillations of government policy.
I'm afraid I finish at 10.
And I don't think we've finished here. I mean, just watch this space. I think over the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to see significant changes again in government policy, probably, as reality dawns. There are some good things about electric vehicles. Clearly, CO2 benefits for city cars and small journeys, absolutely great. The cars are getting a greater range now, so they are more practical. But it's a moving feast, this.
Can I ask you a question? Everybody's heard of Bristol Street Motors. Did it start on Bristol Street? Why is it called that?
Oh, it's still there. Yes.
In Bristol?
Bristol Street. No, Bristol Street in Birmingham.
It all grew out... Oh, of course, the car city. I see. So it all grew out of Bristol Street in Brum. That's where it all began.
Indeed. And our big Ford dealership is still on Bristol Street in Birmingham.
You see, he couldn't help himself. There we are. Special prices on a Ford Focus if you mention Nick Ferrari. Robert Forrester, look after yourself. Thank you. Chief Executive of Bristol Street Motors, one of the country's biggest car dealerships, also Chief Executive of Virtu,